Okay, I'm gonna say put your questions here. Okay, and then I'm gonna... Hi everyone, just getting set up and wanting to pin something to the top. There we go, so folks can see. Okay, amazing. Okay. We're here, we're live. We are talking about Somatics 101 today. Thank you guys all for being here. All right. So, most of you already know me. You've been following me for a while, but just for those of you who are newer here, my name is Stephanie. I am Stephanie Somatics. I specialize in helping folks heal from past traumas using a body-focused approach, which is what we call somatics. Today, I'm going to just be giving you a general 101 overview of what is this? What is the somatic approach? What does it mean to get into your body? How does it work? Why does that help? And if you have any questions, please feel free to throw those in the chat, and I will get to those as quickly as I can while covering quite a bit of information. I do not have online cert courses available yet. I'm in the process of getting credentialed so that I can offer training. My background, I have my MA in clinical mental health, Somatic Psychology. So really what that means is the way I'm approaching working with folks is really from a mental health standpoint first with a somatic overlay. And that means that any sort of mental health experience, we can look at the way your body is experiencing it with you. So let's kind of start there. Your body is a subjective participant in your life, not objective. Your body is experiencing life with you, not merely transporting you from A to B and so on. And this means that your body has been impacted by the life experiences that you've lived through. And we want to honor that, I think is the word I'm looking for. We want to honor that experience that your body has been having by looking for the ways it's communicating with you. So this concept of your body communicating with you is really the core groundwork that you use when doing a somatic approach. So in cognitive therapy or talk therapy, CBT, DBT, all these different modalities, they're really focused on figuring it out, understanding with your mind. And the somatic approach, a more embodied approach to understanding your patterns or your trauma or your mental health, is about the way your body experiences it. So if your body is communicating, what we want to do is listen for those sensations. And this is something really basic like a gut feeling. And it's important to note that even if you've had a gut feeling about something, oftentimes in traumatic experiences, we can be told by our surrounding environment that that gut feeling is wrong. And so it's very common when folks come to me to say things like, I know my body's having a feeling, but I don't really know what it means. I don't really understand what's going on in there. And that's okay. You're not taught how to listen to your body, and that's what I'm here to help you do. So we've established this idea that your body is talking to you, your body's communicating because it's been impacted by the life you're living. And we know it's communicating through these sensations like a gut feeling. But there's actually a whole realm of sensory experiences that we can tune into in our body beyond just a gut feeling. So an example of this that most folks are familiar with is when you feel anger or sadness or happiness, whatever the feeling is, how do you know that's what you're feeling? What is the sensation that you have in your body that tells you, oh, this is sadness, oh, this is anger, oh, this is joy, happiness, excitement, whatever. And there are distinct markers, because if I said you're feeling joy, oh, you must be heavy and cold and shaky. You might look at me and say, no, I don't feel any of those things. I feel warm, I feel like expansive, and those are sensory words. And the sensory is really about like the tactile concept And this is the way your body's communicating using body modalities, so your senses. And so this can tie into all of the ways that your body is communicating, not just the sensory pieces, but also the anatomy. So there's a question in here about the polyvagal theory, and this perfectly ties in. So the polyvagal theory is in relationship to your 12th cranial nerve, and I'm putting my hand at the back of my head because it's just right at the base of where your skull meets the top of your neck, right there on your spine. And your 12th cranial nerve, your polyvagal, your vagus nerve, really is attached to your nervous system and the way that that fluctuates throughout the day. So the sensory experience that you're having of your body is in relationship to your nervous system. And the vagus nerve that this question is about in here is specifically about how we can slow down, how we can regulate and calm our system. So your nervous system has just two directions, up and down. And up, we might say that is activating, and that can be like waking up in the day, your alarm goes off, you're going to go start doing your thing, and I will be saving this live. Thank you for that question, Amy. I will have it on here later. So you wake up during the day, you're activated, you're going, and that is a lift. Your system has to activate and go upwards to get you going. And we would call that, in anatomy terms, your sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated, and so it's getting you up and it's moving. And maybe once you get to work, you sit down, you have your second cup of coffee, and you start to kind of rest and settle in. And the resting, settling in is that downward, the second part of your nervous system. That downward is your parasympathetic nervous system. And that is going to be your slowing, your resting. You can call it rest and digest is an easy way to remember that. So your body all day long, every single day of your life, is fluctuating up and down, up and down, up and down. And when you can start to notice the sensations that tie into these up and downs, you can start to better track what your system needs, what's going on in there, how to better listen. So these up and downs can be totally normal. It's a very regular experience we have for everybody. And there are ups that are too much. There are downs that are too much. And when I say too much, this is in reference, again, to your nervous system. And there's a center middle place in your nervous system called your window of tolerance. And this is your tolerable experience of the up and down, of the activation and the slowing down rest. When something is intolerable, too much for your system, outside of your window, and it lifts out above your window of tolerance when you're activated, that is called hyperarousal. And that might be like a panic attack. That might be wide eyes, hard time breathing, jaw clenched, shaky feeling in your body. Those are symptoms that I notice, or sensations I notice for myself and that were for other clients. Hyperarousal. There's too much activation. And it can also go the other direction. Too much rest, and it can be in a response to something being too much or too little in your life. And that rest is going to feel like a shutdown. I feel tired. I don't want to open my eyes. I feel heavy. I'm breathing, but it is this like slow, shallow breath. And we can look at those sensations and help ourselves track a little bit better. So you've got a sense of your body's communicating with you. There's sensations. That's how we're hearing it. There's a direction. They go up and they go down. Your window of tolerance is your middle safe place, and not comfortable. It's not necessarily comfortable in your window of tolerance. It's tolerable. And this is really the area you work with in therapy in general, but in particular in somatics, we're able to tune into that specifically because we're tracking the sensations in the body, the markers that tell us where you are in that scale on that board. So the sensations and experiences you're having in your body, these can be stored in like memory form, and that can be like a visual memory, a sensory memory, a sound, a smell. And when you're doing somatic work, what you want to do is go towards the sensation, and it's very important for us to just increase our awareness, just grow our listening skills for these things, so that as they come up, like this morning, I felt a numbness and I thought, I don't feel anything. And the question, the somatic question we always bring to that is, how do you know that's what you're feeling? I don't feel anything. Well, what kind of nothing are you feeling? Are you cold? Are you dissociated? Are you not in your body? What tells you that you're numb? And I love this question for those of you who also identify with that experience of numb, because that can be a really helpful way to just bring back in some control, some conversation for yourself, so that you can be understanding what exactly is happening for you. And for me this morning, I thought, okay, there's an experience, there's the numb. How do I know I'm feeling that right now? Okay, I'm going to go towards it. And the going towards is going to be a little bit like unraveling a sweater in a way, because you want to pull on the thread. You want to go towards it. And this can be really difficult when it's a tough sensation or an uncomfortable one, because everything in your body is saying to not go towards that. But what happens is, if you can stay with that feeling, notice it, go towards it, and observe it just a little bit more, what happens is you start to build a relationship with your body in the experience of that sensation. So your body is able to notice that you're present. It's able to notice that you're attuned and listening. And we see that that is important for folks covering anything from child development to healing trauma to intimate and vulnerable connected relationships. Think about Brene Brown's work about vulnerability and connection. That was her big piece, right? That in order to have true connection, we have to have vulnerability. And your body is needing that same kind of presence from you. You have to be vulnerable with your body, be willing to go towards it, even if something is uncomfortable. The concept is that you are going to be together in this. You're going to personify the body, really. And by personifying the body, by giving the body almost like another individual's capacity. Oh, my body could speak to me the way another person could. I could sit down at a table with my body and listen to them. What it does is it really puts us in the observing seat, listening seat, which can be scary because we're a little more out of control than we like to be as humans. But what it really also does, that is at the core of this, is establish that we're here to engage, we're here to listen, and we care. And that's how we start to build a relationship with our body using this somatic approach. And the somatic piece might sound woo-woo or new to you, and it feels that way because we're using different terms for this, but there is quite a bit of evidence of somatic approaches in psychology, starting back with Freud even, his concept of the ego and the id and the superego. The ego, when he spoke about that, really he was identifying that it was first and foremost a body ego, a body identity. And that's what we're looking at, is the identity that your body has, the identity and the experience you and your body are having together. What kind of relationship have the two of you built over the course of things you've experienced in your lifetime? And we can track that even past Freud, because that was an old, white, privileged individual, male, observing other people. But we see the body being crucial in indigenous practices, in Eastern wisdom traditions. There is inordinate amount of information signifying that people knew the body was true, the body was a compass, the body was wisdom, way back before we had technical, modern lingo for it. When we look at somatics from the neuroscience perspective and looking at how we can rewire the brain, create new pathways, it's really important that we integrate the body to do that, but we're really just using new words to describe something that people have known for a long time. If you are willing to sit in the discomfort, to trust and let go, and trust that being with will be enough, it starts to unlock, it starts to unravel. And so when we use the somatic approach for doing trauma work, what we're doing is widening that window of tolerance that I mentioned. We're really practicing expanding your capacity to sit with discomfort. And so what we practice doing is, when a sensation arises, we want to be with that sensation in the window of tolerance. And that can be just gentle observing. Oh, I see I'm activated. I see that I'm having heat in my body. I see the tension, and the naming, the observing is one really crucial tool that we have. Crucial tool that we have to bring the brain online in support of the body work. And that observing kind of can take you out of the pool, the intensity, the drowning experience that sometimes feelings can give us, and put you on the side to watch what's happening. And the watching is the skill here. To be able to identify it, what we're doing is something that Dan Siegel coined, and I think I see someone saying it in here, is we name it to tame it. And that observation piece actually gives us a sense of power, gives us a sense of control and sense of understanding. And that's so much of what our brain and our human nature needs to feel like it's going to be okay, is to understand it. The not knowing is really tough for us as humans. That's a hard place to sit in. And so I want to invite you, as you maybe are diving into somatic work or getting curious about this for yourself, can you name what you're feeling? And then can you identify what kinds of sensations are going along with it? And that observation, that witnessing, that naming to taming, what it again does is reinforce the relationship you're having with your body. Think about like little kids. When little kids are having an experience, what we want to do is identify what experience they're having. When they're crying, we go, "Oh my gosh, you're really sad. What's happening right now?" And they'll say, "I'm really sad," or I'm frustrated." And we go, yeah, you're sad. You feel sad right now. Yeah, you feel frustrated. And we validate. That's what you want to do with your body, just in the same way. We want to identify and witness. And we're not going to label it quite yet. We're not going to get into what does that mean? Why is this happening? We're just observing. And again, the observing is how we are establishing we're inside of our window of tolerance. And to expand that window of tolerance for the trauma work, we're going to go outside that window just a little bit. And that would mean we're going to lean into the feeling. And this can be scary. And so it's really important to do this from a resource place within yourself, or with a guide or a facilitator, somebody that can help hold a container for you. Because what you'll do is step out of that window and then using your regulation skills, whether that is observing or breathing or self-soothing with physical touch, maybe using sound, sensory skills, whatever it is, you're going to resource yourself back down into your window. And so I have a question in here about guidance and monitoring. This idea that we can get stuck when the memory comes to the surface. This is maybe a step or two away, so I'll try and skip ahead just a bit. So when we've identified there's a feeling, you come out of your window of tolerance, you come back into, you come out, you come back in, and you expand your window of tolerance. What this is doing isn't necessarily making it okay that thing happened. It's not fixing it, it's not solving it, but rather just expanding your ability to be with it. So I think that's a common misconception when folks come in to do healing work, is the idea that this is going to fix the problems. And that might be an incredible byproduct, and I think I see that all the time. But really, my goal when I work with people is to help them find peace with their experiences. And that can be really challenges, because a lot of these experiences we've gone through are not peaceful. So one of the ways that we can continue to do that is to go towards the experiences and the memories that are stored within the sensations. So if you're super curious about how all this works, I do recommend looking up an author named Bessel van der Kolk, Kolk, and his book, The Body Keeps the Score. And this is it's thick, it's a bit textbooky, but it goes into why exactly this works the way it does. And essentially, he was able to show through his work with Vietnam veterans that PTSD was not just in their head. It wasn't them being crazy. Their body was having a memory experience of the trauma. And even though their brain might be able to say, "I'm okay, you're safe, nothing's happening," the body was going, "Oh, something is happening and it is not okay." Oh, someone just said that book is on Audible. Okay, great. Thank you for that. So the body can be having a totally different experience than the brain. And this idea that they need to be congruent or you're crazy is actually very outdated at this point. So it's really important for us to validate, again, name it to tame it, give and honor the experience your body is having. Your body is having, this is real. And when we do that, what we're able to see is the sensations and those memories of things are coming up because they're activated by something around us in the present day. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this. Maybe you're driving to work and somebody honks and your system goes into a full panic mode because when you were 8, you were in a car accident with a sibling and it was really scary and you weren't sure you were going to be okay. And every time now there's a scary moment in the car or a startling moment or uncomfortable moment, your system, your body goes back to the memory of that very significant time you were also in the car and it wasn't safe. And so what we can do from that place, what we can do with this progression is to go towards that memory. And this part of somatics is probably my favorite part because it's a little bit like time traveling. So you basically go towards the sensation in a safe and supportive environment. We're not going to do this in a place that we're not held and supported. It's really important. We're trying to repattern. We're going to do that with love and intention and care. So when you're in a safe environment, you can revisit that memory, revisit that moment from the sensation. Okay, when the car horn honked, I was in traffic and it made me jump. It lifted and my heart jumped into my throat. My chest compressed. My whole skin, it made me want to scratch out of it and run. My eyes were wide. Those are all the sensations, right? So we're identifying the experience that your body is having, you're observing. And then we're going to widen the window of tolerance. You're going to sit with it. Yeah, what is it like to see those things? What is it like to feel this? And staying with that is going to bring us back to the original memory. Sometimes it's the original memory. Sometimes it's a different experience. But the goal is to be there with your younger self, the part of you that originally had that life impact. And that might be 7 years old, 12 years old, 25, 52, whatever it is, whenever it happened. The goal is to then be with that part of you, because all of the significant experiences we've had in our life have impacted our body and stayed in our body until we have fully processed them through. And this isn't a bad thing, actually. This is a really wise thing that your body organically does, is it holds it until you're ready to meet it. And it doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes it feels like our body kind of puts us into a state when we're not ready for it, but you absolutely have the skills and the tools and resources to find support, to make that change. And that is why your body feels that you're ready. And so when we can go inwards, go towards that younger self, go towards that original memory, what you're going to do is the repatterning here. And this is where some of the shadow work piece can come in. This is where the reparenting comes in, because oftentimes what's happened is our parents or our significant caregivers really set the tone for us of how we should expect to be treated by how they treated us, or how they had treated each other. And that's why doing the inner child work and getting to this place can be like shadow work, because your impulse will be to treat that child in the way that you were treated. So that could be minimizing them, saying, I don't want to look at them. Maybe that inner child doesn't want to look at you. There can be so many pieces there. I mean, we're talking about even feeling like disgust when you see your inner child. That's not uncommon either, and that's okay. And when you can go in to see that younger self, sit with them, be with them. And I'm not talking about fixing it yet. We're not there to fix. We're just there to observe. And then from the observing place, these are the 3 phrases that I find the most helpful every time I do this work. I see you, I hear you, and I'm listening. And those are the phrases that I find everyone's inner child needs to hear. Everyone. I haven't had a client yet that was like, nah, I'm good. This is crucial, because I'm not fixing it. I'm not making it better, but I'm letting them know that I'm present, I'm attuning, and I'm listening. I want to learn more. And that is really what starts to give the energy of the relationship building. This is what starts to say, I'm in this with you. I want to learn how to do this together. Because your inner child was incredibly capable and brilliant and confident and strong, because that's how you made it. That's how you survived, by figuring it out. And that was so brilliant. And you did that all by yourself, and that was so powerful. And gee, I sure wish somebody had been able to be with you so that you didn't have to do it by yourself. You were brave enough to do it by yourself. And I wish that it could have been different. And that's what the somatic approach gives us. And this can feel really scary to do as an approach if you have multiple major traumas. And that can look like maybe repeated trauma in the home, or, initially trauma in the home and then multiple traumas outside the home. Wherever you were experiencing it from, whomever you experienced it, this work can be so powerful and significant because it's a little bit of a snowball effect. The more that you are showing up and being present, the more you can just keep rolling with this skill. And it absolutely takes work, and it absolutely takes dedication. But it's really, really crucial that you make the effort to do this, because what you say to your body is the same thing that what we needed to hear as kids who had to figure it out on our own. We needed to know that somebody was going to figure it out with us, and that somebody was willing to be in the discomfort with us. It says, you are worth this scary thing. You are more important to me than running away. I love you enough to do this, even though I'm nervous. I bet you're nervous too, but we're going to do it together. And this is really like the sweet sauce to all of this work. And this is the relationship building piece. And it's why I come back to this work time and time again, not only for my clients, but really for myself. This is the way that I keep tabs on myself. I keep deepening. I am absolutely still doing my own work and realizing, oh, there's more layers to this. And I think that is both a hard pill to swallow and really powerful. Because here's the thing, is I am not trying to pitch this to you like you're going to learn this skill and one and done and life will never be hard again. I'm not trying to sell you on this idea that learning how to communicate with your body is going to fix everything in your life. Rather, this is what is going to help you feel capable when there's stuff in your life. This is what's going to help you feel like you can fall back and lean on a sense of fortitude within your own skill set, that even though life is going to happen, I'm going to be okay. And that is the crux of what makes this work so powerful. And I think we can build our skill set and our tools and our resource list with CBT and DBT things, but you are going to be with your body. Your body is like another individual. If you and your body sat down at a table together and had this kind of conversation, what does your body want to say? What has your body's experience of life been up until this point? And that's the crazy part, is your body actually does want to have this conversation with you. This isn't like a woo-woo, like we're going to channel in the message. Your body's already trying to tell it to you, and you don't even need me for that part. But really, this is a sustainable and practiced skill that you get to use and adapt to wherever you are in your life. You get to take this with you. And the somatic approach, again, is integrating the body, it's integrating the brain, we're integrating the anatomy and the neuroscience. We're changing the way you move through the world. And this is kind of like if you have glasses and you didn't know you needed them, the first time you put on glasses and you can see with more clarity, it's this feeling of like, oh my God, I had no idea. I had no idea that I needed glasses, but now that I can see in this way, I would never take them off. I would never go back to not being able to see. And that's what this relationship with your body gives you. When you can tune into your body and have this conversation, when you can do this listening skill, it's this extra layer of, and understanding and clarity and insight that you're able to get just from your own self. So it also feels important to note that the somatic approach is based in moving gently. It can be about moving gently, but it doesn't have to be these like big windmill exercises. And I bring this up because this sometimes is like a big question I get from folks. They're like, are you going to make me do weird stretches on the ground, or like, are we going to jumping jacks? Like, what's going to happen? And so soma is the Latin root for body. So somatics. So yeah, we are going to integrate your body, not just on a sensory level, but also on a mechanical moving level. And we can look at this from the work of Christine Caldwell, who did quite a bit of research on something called the moving cycle. And what she was able to identify is that in each phase and chapter of our life, there are four or five motions that we go through. And we can use this motion of sit up, reach, grab, lean back, and then rest. We can see each of those movements happen metaphorically in all the stages of our life. And so we can identify these movement tags, these movement patterns in what you're working through right now. So for example, we can also look at this from like stages of change, as well as for those of you who are like into the psychology geek stuff about it. So whatever you're working through right now, imagine or see if you can identify which stage of that moving cycle you might be in. And so that first one is just sitting up. That first one is just engaging with the material. And then there's the outreach. I'm reaching towards the thing that I'm working on. And then there's grab, and then there's pull back, and then there's rest. So you're rising to the occasion, and you're like, okay, I'm going to work on this thing. I'm going to reach for what it is I'm doing. And that might be scary. That might be a risk. That might be hard. And then actually grabbing it, actually hanging on to it is the tangible tool, is the integrate, it's the activity, it's the engaging. And like, okay, here's what it is. I'm doing it and it's scary and it's a risk. I'm afraid if I pull it back, what if it disappears? What if I can't hang on to it? There's so much at stake. But when you're able to bring it back and then rest, the moving cycle by Christine Caldwell shows us that that place of integration is how we're actually trying to move through each of our experiences. And this is from childhood to adulthood to parenting to grandparenting to, cycling into the next phase of life and passing. All of it, your body is participating. And we can see little markers for these stages as well. So we can actually look at human development from a moving perspective. The Kestenberg movement cycle is, Kestenberg movement profile is, for my psychology geeks who are watching this, is the template that somatics can use. So we can see different movement patterns that you are going through during different developmental stages in your life. And using those, we can often identify, okay, you were probably around 4 when the trauma happened, because this is the movement pattern that I'm seeing in you right now. I can track, there's a lot of jumping happening. Okay, so that's probably like an 8 or 9 age. And the Kestenberg movement profile is really cool in that way, because there are also versions of it where, okay, you're leaning into this experience, you're trying to understand it, you're wanting to go towards this, or you are resisting the hell out of this experience. You are not trying to learn from it. You are like, get it away, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just for us to notice so that you can take better care of yourself. And really, all of this information is just to give you a better sense of how your body's working, what your body is trying to do, and what it's trying to tell you. The Kestenberg movement profile, K-E-S-T, E-N-B-E-R-G, Kestenberg movement profile, is how you spell that for Stephanie, who I think is in there. This work is my jam and bread and butter, and it's incredible. I hope that you learned something today. If you have more questions, please feel free to send me a DM or put a comment on this video later. It's been a pleasure to get to connect and share with you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to y'all soon.